This is the former Nazi death camp at Treblinka. On the 23rd of July 1942, a transport arrived here from Warsaw. It set off the previous late afternoon, and they were the first people to be killed at this location. And over the next 15 months, some 900,000 people were murdered here. Now, when the deportation started, they started from here, from Warsaw. And so here we can see the names of some of the places where the victims came from. These communities which were completely destroyed. Przedborz there, Zawichost. There's certainly no Jews there anymore. I don't know why, but there's two mentions of Warsaw. We've got that one there, and we've got this one here, which says Męczennikom Getta Warszawskiego, for the martyrs of the Warsaw Ghetto. Anyway, there were people who returned to places such as Warsaw after escaping from here. So they managed to get out, maybe in the train, for example. There were people who got there, managed to hide under clothes. When the Nazi staff here wasn't particularly large. The problem, of course, was that by the time people got here, having spent a couple of years in the ghetto, having been starved and brutalized, and then you would have had the shock of what was actually happening here, that this, I think, would have demoralized all but the absolute strongest of people. So those escaped, where did they go? Well, the problem was that there was only one place they could go, and that was back to the ghetto. If they went anywhere else, they were hunted. But in the ghetto, they had a certain amount of freedom. And they were locked up in a ghetto, but they weren't constantly under pressure. Now, saying that, they would have known that the end was just a matter of time. So therefore, it became a waiting game, if you like. It was how long could they manage to stay in the ghetto? Maybe a little luck would happen and save them. So the problem was this, though, is that when they went back, people just didn't believe them. And there's even one account where somebody escaped from here, went back, and it was the person who was almost had to be rescued from those that didn't believe him. And the clearly some people did believe it. For example, Oneg Shabbat, the resistance type organization that existed within the Warsaw Ghetto, it was headed by Emanuel Ringelblum, a historian. He wanted to leave a record of what was happening in the ghetto. And we have the Ringelblum archive, which is a magnificent work, and he shared all sorts of things, such as letters coming in from outside, even little things which happened within the ghetto. And this was hidden in three installments. 3 parts of it were hidden, and 2 of those, in 1946 and in 1950, have been found. It's said that the 3rd part may be in the grounds of the Chinese embassy. Anyway, another person who escaped was Abraham Bomba. In the film Shoah, he appears as being the barber. He was born in 1913 in Częstochowa. I think his family business was in hairdressing, so he'd been a barber for a number of years, and that's the role he played here for some time. He was initially assigned to one of the clothing squads, and then he was sent to be a barber. Initially cut the hair of the women in the gas chamber, which was situated a bit closer to where I am now, from where the big block is, because often we see that block as being the sort of the location of the new gas chamber, the bigger ones which were built later, and the older ones are built slightly to the back and closer to where I'm standing now. Anyway, so he went back to Chesterhover, but he found in the winter of 1943, but it was the same situation. People didn't want to believe him. And now we have the question, why is that? Well, I think it's one of these situations where they knew he was telling the truth, but they couldn't face reality. And therefore, that is the reason. So people accused him and the others of wanting to cause a panic. Why? Why are you saying these things? What's the point? And the point was that as far as the other people were concerned, that they had little chance, if any at all, of escape, because living on the other side, on the Catholic side of the ghetto, was, for most people, it's not realistic. I mean, first of all, you're going to need papers, and you're going to need papers to get things like food, and that required a lot of money for false papers and things like that. There would be constantly the fear of being denounced. Now, clearly there were people amongst the population, as there would be anywhere, who were prepared to denounce Jews. Okay, I accept the fact that maybe the occupants, Germans, couldn't tell who was Jewish, but certainly the locals could. And there was always the risk of running into these people, Schmalcowników, as they're called in Polish. So, so any other thing else, it was living outside ghetto in these circumstances. It was just totally unrealistic. The idea of sort of running off into the forests. Well, there you have a forest. Now, I wonder how many people could try living there. I mean, it's bad enough walking through it in the summer and with all the insects. Never mind. I mean, you can't get the food, you're not going to get shelter, you're going to get caught sooner or later, unless you're really trained to do that. Maybe you'd been in the army, maybe you'd been an outdoor person. It wasn't a realistic proposition at all. So that is the reason why people who escaped went back to the ghetto. Now, if we have a look at somebody who did successfully escape, for example, Samuel Willenberg, who escaped during the revolt, 2nd of August 1943, he wrote a book about it, but he was able to get away with it because of his physical appearance. He didn't look Jewish. And because he left the camp with $100 he'd got, somebody brought it in and he kept it in a shoe, and that was his the money he then used in people he met and fell in with, who were able to give him support. So I do strongly recommend his book, Revolt in Treblinka, which is I've bought it 4 times, and I think it is it's absolutely a wonderful book. Anyway, so thanks very much for listening to this account, and if you found that of any interest, then you might want to subscribe. Holocaust is my specialist area, and I've spent the last 3 days in this area here around Treblinka and trying to get some footage to show you what it looks like today. Now, just mention this one place here, actually, Druskianiki. That's a spa town. It's obviously Polish-speaking population. I think even today it's a Polish-speaking population, but it's in Lithuania today. It was moved. It was territory occupied by the Soviet Union, and then they decided they were gonna keep it. In fact, it was handed over to, I'm not certain if Druskianiki was handed over as part of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, because the Soviets were kind enough to give the Lithuanians Vilnius, which was Polish, but Anyway, I don't know. I'm gonna have to find that one out. But anyway, it's strange to actually see it actually here. Oh no, there's other places here I can see which are no longer in Poland as well. There you go. There's Grodno, for example. And anyway, okay. So, thanks for listening.